That's our little shop.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning.
Thank you for calling Pacific Domes. This is Andrew. How can I help you?
Pacific Domes, this is Taylor. How can I help you?
Yeah, but if you have wind, like tornadoes or things like that, that might be something we want to look at. We also provide engineering as well, too.
Hi. Yeah, over here we have our sales and marketing and lunch hour, so a lot of people are gone, but yeah, I think it's a little bit of a break time. Yeah, it's quiet, but there's a few people here left. This is all the designs that are produced in our design department. We do a lot of custom work, so it's not like every dome is already figured out. And so what happens is all these different patterns get nested on this table. This is the cutting table. Tony is working on cutting out some screens right now. And then over here we have our sewing section. A lot of people are at lunch right now. Those two guys are welding.
They're welding. So you might have to explain what welding means.
Okay, so yeah, there's other than metal welding, there's fabric welding. And this is a fabric welder, that's a fabric welder. And what it does is it puts out a high frequency that melts the fabric together kind of in a way. It doesn't melt like sploogie melt, but it lets it bind. And so you put the fabric under this bar and the bar comes down and it makes a weld. So all the seams on the architectural vinyls are welded together. And that material is very stable, actually. You would think vinyl is a bad thing to use, but it's actually a lot less toxic than the cotton domes I used to sew, which are treated with formaldehyde, mildewcide, fire retardants, and those powder off and the employees end up breathing it, whereas this is a lot less toxic. We have a bunch of different fabrics on here. This is one we use for our insulated liners. It's a nice polyester, very tight weave. This is our architectural vinyl we use for the shelter domes. So this is our greenhouse vinyl. It works really great for diffusing light to create a greenhouse. What he's working on right here, so this is just a clear vinyl. So this is what we make the large windows out of. And I think we started a fashion with large windows because since we've gotten the domes out with these big windows, pretty much everyone copies us. We've inspired a lot of different companies. In the last maybe 5 years, maybe 10 years at the most, there's many, many copycat companies that have sprung up all over the world, inspired by our designs. And I never had a problem with that. I think it's awesome. Here's a photograph of an astronaut and a dome, and this is on the top of a mountain in Hawaii. So this is a NASA project. And they've had astronauts living in the dome. For many years they've been doing Mars simulation in this dome. This is a really old board. It just shows some of the jobs we did. I think this was a truck show, and this was a car show in Hong Kong at Repulse Bay. This is a shelter dome.
You can see how they even integrate wood into the structure. So
yeah, this was an easy one. What they did was they just took the floor plan and built it up because the geometry is the same, right? So they just built that up to divide the dome. They've got a kitchen back there and a bathroom and a kid's bedroom in the loft and their bedrooms in the back. This is also another one near the coast of California. This is actually Sean Hausman's dome. He was a famous architect. He designed and built the LA airport, the figure 8 part. And he chose to live in a dome in the mountains of Ojai, California. One of the reasons why domes were not successful in the 60s is because when you build a wooden structure that big, you have to seal all the seams. And doing the roofing project of sealing each corner and each edge and each side was a real conundrum. People did it because they love domes, but you'll often hear a story of, my dome leaks. And when we solved that by using steel tubing and fabric, but we are considered a temporary structure in regards to that. We are only considered a permanent structure in Hawaii, for instance, where one of our business partners pushed on the permitting because they don't require the insulation in Hawaii that we require. So I could probably push to make it a permanent structure. I just haven't had the bandwidth to go there.
And can these domes be plumbed and electrified and everything?
Oh yeah,
Okay.
you can, anything you can do. You can plumb through your floor, but we also often use, when you have a window opening, instead of a window or a screen, you can just put a solid piece of fabric. If you're plumbing, you can cut a little X in here and put any size tube through. So if you want to vent your bathroom fan or do something, we also have the solar fan that fits right in the same opening. So yeah, we figure out all kinds of stuff.
What if you wanted to do like a backyard dome?
Well, you got to build your deck. We provide the floor plans for free. And according to my clients, anyone can build one of our decks. And then you've got to put the frame up on top of the deck. Right here we have what we call a flat hub. And this is very simplistic. The punch press cuts this rounded and punches a hole in it. We bend it to the right angle according to which frequency dome it is, and then it just bolts together. So it's very easy for installation. You know, like the dome we were in today, my son, he probably would put that dome up in a day. That dome would be up and covered and skinned and liner put in.
And the cost roughly, like we're talking range for just a backyard simple.
Like the dome you saw, the 20-foot today, I think those are about $6,000 right now to $7,000. With the liner, it would be a little more. And if you live in a heavy snow area, there's a little upgrade required for heavier snow loads. So I can show you in here. So we have different size tubing. I started actually when my first domes were even smaller. I used to have a 1/2-inch pipe hanging right here. And when I first made domes, I used 1/2-inch tubing. It was plenty strong, handled the snow in Oregon. But we got an engineer after we grew into a business, and now we have to be more specific about what we use, the tubing. And plus the quality of the tubing is different. 40 years ago, it was much stronger steel tubing than it is right now. So this is our normal. We call it 1-inch. And this is our next size and this size. And when we get into the bigger domes, you know, when you're talking about putting up a 120-foot diameter dome, we would use a longer strut length, as much as 9 feet, because it's stronger, makes the length stronger. So yeah, it just depends what you're making. This is what we make our bay window out of. This is what we make the bay window and the round. This is actually a round window. So we put a bunch of these in each shelter dome. You can take them out and put screens in instead. You can also we have a solar fan, so it will exhaust the hot air out in the same opening, or you can put your wood stove flashing, which you saw. And this material is really interesting. When we make our insulated liners, we either use this, which is Thinsulate, and it's basically like what you would use to make an insulated jacket. So we buy this in bulk to make these really elegant liners, as you saw today. So because of the stable structure of the geometry, we can supply domes for places that other structures won't survive. Wind, snow. We've had our domes make it through hurricanes. It reported back to us like everything blew over but the dome. It's the geometry of nature.
Do you find that there's more of a connection with nature with the dome structure?
Yeah, absolutely. Our experience over the many years of putting domes up, people will walk in the dome and go,